Are we recording?
We are recording.
Okay, so how are we looking here? I don't see the little my
I did the thing.
feedback
So if you just stay where you're at, then
I just want to make sure we're all being recorded. I like seeing.
no, but I gotta. If you want me to fucking check facts,
Yeah, I do. I think that's a good element to the show.
Try to be able
Jeff
to-
can come.
I think Mason needs to wear these pants to all of the podcasts to give us like 100% more gutter punk cred, dude.
Did you do like the bleaching on purpose? Like,
No, it's from work.
did you take it from Shelby?
No,
Those are
from work.
Shelby pants. for
Actually,
sure.
no. So these are real. These are worn. So these were actual black pants, and now
Wow.
they're
Dope.
just so torn. up.
What have you done though? Just wore the hell out of those.
Bending
knees?
down, picking shit up,
Chemicals,
getting
man.
chlorine
Chem-
on.
In the
them.
summer, you got to finish the job. Like, just make them
Just
cut off.
full on cutoffs.
But I've just been so resistant to buy. Like, I need new pants and shit.
Oh, hell
But I
yeah.
like buying pants. Just buying clothes makes me just want to vomit. So
I can buy shirts.
I do it
I don't
twice a
feel
year.
bad about.
I don't mind
t-shirts.
buying like shirts that statement shirts. Like,
Statement
fuck you. Here's a Noam Chomsky shirt. I love that. But like,
My statements are on my hat, so I make sure my shirts have no labels.
I'll ask again. We're recording, right?
Yes.
I usually get my t-shirts at like the 3 for $10 place, but I'm too fat, and so what with my size, they're like, no 3 for $10. You get 2. This is a meeting place for misfits, ne'er-do-wells, nonconformists, the oppressed, and the marginalized. It's refuge for refuge, a squared circle for square pegs, a ringside seat for the doomed generation to cheer on the death of the American dream. We believe, as we circle the drain, the best course of action is to enjoy the ride. Abandon all hope and embrace the surrender. Welcome to the LaCroix Underground.
So I went and saw, right before the new year, I went and saw Grateful Shred at Pappy and Harriet's out near Joshua Tree. If you ever get a chance, they bill themselves. Well, I don't know if they bill themselves, but they are billed as the greatest Grateful Dead cover band.
Better than Cubensis.
I've shared a bill with Cubensis,
right?
dog. I don't know.
We're
J-Rad.
from Long Beach, so those are some strong words.
Cubensis is they tear it up, dude. They tear it up.
They're like.
I
They're about
will
as
tell
old
you
as
this
Jerry.
though, I've seen.
Dude, Otel's touring with J-Rad right now, so that's a lot. That's a big ask.
I've seen a lot of cover bands in my day. I'm friends with a cover artist, and every time I've seen a cover band, you know it's not the band. I mean, audibly, of course, visually, you know it's not the band, and it just kind of sounds a little bit watered down. Dude, these guys are incredible. Nice. So they're all professional studio musicians from like the LA area. So to be a studio musician in the LA area for like, I mean, I think they're all really successful. They had gorgeous girlfriends and stuff. And then they just get together.
True studio musician.
For sure, dude. Your success as a musician. Anyway, they all get together and just jam the Dead. It was incredible.
Awesome.
And, of course, there were a lot of drugs going on at the Dead show. I don't know if you guys ever been to a Pappy and Harriet's. But it's like this tiny little bar out in the middle of Pioneer Town, which is 6 miles or so away from Joshua Tree, like into the hill. And it's just this tiny little bar, and it's famous because they get huge acts there. I mean, not the Grateful Shred. And though it did sell out 2 nights, but like Modest Mouse. It's sort of near Coachella, so every year.
Sounds like somewhere the Queens of the Stone Age would play.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Like
Josh probably owns the place.
towards the end of Coachella, like all the big cool Coachella acts play there, and it's kind of like a rite of passage. Like Neutral Milk Hotel played there right before they sold out the bowl, so it's just kind of weird. Anyway, lots of drugs are flowing, and I was with a couple Deadhead friends, and we started talking about drugs and whatnot. And sooner or later, you know how it is. It's like being an old Deadhead. It's kind of like being an AA where you just compare stories and stuff. And then we started talking about drug testing, and this memory came back to me that I hadn't thought of in a long time. And it was years ago, I got a job working with children in an after school daycare, and these are elementary school kids, and they sent me to get a physical and a drug test, and it was like the most like complete physical I've ever had to do. Like, you know, it's like take your shirt off so we can see your spine, like bend over, stoop, lift this thing that weighs 50 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So I do all this. I go through it all, and they do their checks and their tests and whatnot. And the doctor goes, "Well, nurse, come on in." And the nurse comes in, and it's a stone-faced, old Indian woman, like from India, Indian woman with like gray hair up in a bun. Looks like she's never smiled once in her life, right? Just
Looking down on you, like
stern as shit. And she's come with me, and I follow her down a hallway, and we walk into a bathroom, and she has a urine cup. And in this bathroom, there's 2 stalls and like a sink over here on the left, and there's no doors on the stalls. And she's like, she gave me these very specific instructions. She gives me the cup. She goes, and in both stalls, there's a little hole in the wall.
It's called the glory hole.
No, not quite. It's like a little shelf with a slide window behind it that you can put your specimen on.
Yeah, exactly.
So and she's gonna watch you. So her very specific instructions were: go into the restroom, fill the cup. If you still have to urinate, you can pee into the toilet. Once you are finished, put the cup onto the ledge of the little window, turn around, walk out, do not flush. She's going to observe me and then come in and check out the area, and then she will flush.
So the way you've described this woman, how did you pee with a boner?
So
I wonder why she's never
now,
smiled. It's like the worst job.
before, yeah, right. And she's like wearing like the purple, like lavender scrubs, and she was not very nice. She was like very like these were very matter of fact. Like she's talking to a criminal, and I'm just getting a job with kids.
So cut the shit, stoner. You're gonna fucking fail the drug test anyway. So
Okay, hold on. So now, what you need to know before we go forward in the story is that I had the flu, and I had like the stomach flu, and you know, with all that squatting and bending and stuff, I've been getting like the rumblies, like the
you got
gurgles,
the McGurgles, dude.
The bubble guts.
right? So I was like, all right, I need to get out of here. Like I had the sweats. Like I was like, I gotta piss, get out.
It's a little intimidating.
I'll take
situation,
the cup, go in there into the urinal, and take my dick out, put it in the cup, and I'm like, God, trying to go.
Where is she, by the way?
She's standing in the doorway, but it's not that big of a place.
Okay.
Not the doorway of the stall, the doorway of the restroom. Okay. So
3
maybe
to 5 feet.
5 to 6 feet behind me.
Got it. All right. Sorry.
And yeah, it's intimidating to pee
yeah,
with someone
yeah.
watching you anyway.
That'll bring on
But
McGurgles no matter what.
I turn around and I say to her, like, I have to shit so bad. Like, if I relax anything down there, I'm going to spray diarrhea. And do you mind if I sit on the toilet and fill the cup? This is absolutely true. And she says I can, right? Yeah. She's like, and again, not a smile, not
right.
like not like, oh, we've all been there, trying to take it away from me, like some of this humiliation. No, she just like
clinical,
like just like nods, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. And I sit down on the toilet, and again, I'm facing her now.
Oh my God.
And I take my dick out and I put it in the cup, and I'm sitting there, and then I just start blasting diarrhea into this toilet while locking eyes with this old Indian woman. And I fill the cup, and I finish blasting, and I stand up, like squat up, and put the cup on the ledge, and I wipe, throw it in, and then
she's still staring at you.
And I'm like, I'm like thinking about going to flush it, and I stop. And I remember her directions, and I like turn around and I look at her. I'm like, "Should I flush?" And she just looks at me and she just goes, "Yes." And I flushed and dipped out, man, and got the job.
Okay.
You got the job.
I got the job.
Oh, congrats.
Good job.
Wow, that's Stare into the abyss. Sometimes it stares back.
Speaking of drugs, did you guys hear about the Kansas shit? All right, so I don't have the article in front of me, so this is all coming from memory. So for our 6 listeners, like, don't be hating if I get some facts wrong. But
This is all factually incorrect.
the Kansas Supreme Court recently made a ruling that smelling marijuana gave police consent to come into your
Probable cause.
probable cause to come into your dwelling.
Okay, now
And
was,
the-
sorry,
No, go ahead.
was this not previously the standard before this for residents? Because I know it's always been the standard for a vehicle. That's always been probable cause to search a vehicle. That's like one of the most commonly used, tactics of law enforcement to search your car is that they smell weed. They do it all. Smell alcohol, smell weed. You can search a car rather quickly.
Talking out of my ass.
Okay.
I think that when you're driving a car, smelling the cannabis might mean you're impaired.
Well, it's more
So-
logical, right?
Yeah, that you need to be searched, and that like,
it's
if
just
someone's high, they shouldn't be driving.
Just possibly one of these, just no precedent for this.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sure it happened all the time, but this is the first one to go to the Supreme Court.
Got it.
So Supreme Court rules that this is okay. The specific case that went to the Supreme Court was this lady cop said that she smelled, quote unquote, this is her quote, raw marijuana.
Watch out.
Whatever the fuck that means.
Uncut. They didn't even step on it yet.
Raw marijuana, and then entered into this man's house, and they ransacked it. And they found in a safe
30 feet away.
30 feet away in plastic and in Tupperware. Like
about crime dog.
2.5 ounces or
That's
something
some
like that, Jeff?
crime
Do you have
dog
that there?
McGruff shit right there.
Yeah, I mean, they basically said it was felon. Yeah, I mean, I think it was over an
So,
ounce. but
30
I
feet
don't have
away.
it full.
In a safe,
In
in
plastic.
plastic, in a Tupperware. She smelled it.
And, well, to be fair, they did find, like,
Is it because it was
roach.
raw?
They found the roach in the ashtray.
No, no, no.
Which, again, is not raw.
'cause
That's
it's
not raw.
It's not raw.
It's not raw.
So, and once this is classic.
What do you got? What are you pulling up over there?
Just basically, verifying everything that Alex is saying. He,
Okay.
pulling from memory, very good. It's very nice. But the biggest thing, just that one, obviously, this is the Kansas Supreme Court. It's not the U.S. Supreme Court, and it may be filed up with them
So yeah,
as well.
this is the precedent. This case.
This is the precedent now in Kansas.
Got it.
So
Just because it had never happened, it never happened to come up before.
basically, it came up before, but it's always been strike down. This one, they said, like, the idea of a drug dog coming to the door, right? Like, to verify is worse because that would be initiating a search essentially without any kind of contact with somebody. So you couldn't say a dog, like a
The
canine
presence
unit
of the
smelled
dog
it.
itself
Yeah.
indicated.
No, it was
Yeah.
it was used like, hey, what was your probable cause to initially enter this unit? That was used after
Like,
the
we
fact.
know this dude had
I'm sure that's
weed.
status quo for law
Oh,
enforcement.
dude, that's
operations.
classic tactic. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's like
kick
let's
up on
get
the
in there
door
now,
and we'll find a...
right, exactly.
You can always
I
say,
gotta
I
ask.
smelled weed.
Was he black?
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't say.
I don't know. But, you can't prove that I didn't smell weed.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be an excuse to go into someone's house.
Right.
Yeah.
It's classic fascist cop shit, dude.
Women apparently have a better sense of smell than men.
Well, and I think that...
And taste. That's true.
That is true.
And that's why I always fart when I answer the door.
Covering my tracks.
Power play. Am I using that too much already?
Didn't smell shit.
So
A couple other drug things. Drugs in the news. Drugs in the news. My mother posted about
Yeah, about
mushrooms,
mushrooms.
in the LaCroix Underground Facebook.
yeah,
That was interesting.
the one
Go, Mom.
the only boomer accepted.
We allow
Our
one
token
boomer.
boomer.
Our token booth.
Yeah, with my mom being a listener of the show, it could get very interesting at some point. I also read today that just doing some research for the show. We try to stick to a theme sometimes loosely, And I was like, well, let's talk about drugs maybe. And so I looked up drugs. Drugs is not really a hot button issue right now. Besides the opioid crisis, which is even that's kind of background right now. None of my favorite conservative blogs are really rapping about it right now. Everyone's fucking talking about this goddamn wall. That's almost it. Like every conservative blog has the same talking points right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, look at the Democrats fucking this shit up.
Yeah, I don't think they're calling it a wall anymore. I think they're calling it
Border security.
Yeah, something.
Well, don't forget our president did tweet.
It's been quiet. It's been quiet.
He did
over
tweet
the
though
holiday
that concrete is not out like the fake news is reporting.
Called us all haters, dude.
I did stumble across an interesting little fact. Oh yeah, that shit was crazy.
Called us haters.
Happy New Year, even to the haters.
Is a man who has done psychedelics is 50% less likely to beat his spouse.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're also less likely to have
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
You're also less likely to have mental problems if you've experimented with psychedelics, which is not for me, but I mean,
Can you
This
cite that?
just in. Someone that's done psychedelics is probably a better person than someone that hasn't.
Well, and that's what I was saying earlier today to Mason when we were doing a little show prep. Is like, I think that after you graduate high school,
Yes.
some of you, I didn't, but those of you who did graduate high school, that before you're allowed to go into college or go pursue your life and career and love, that there should be a mandatory like
rites of passage, kind of.
rite of passage where you have to like climb a mountain and get into a yurt, not like cliffhanger fucking Stallone shit, like walk up a mountain. You gave me a dirty ass look.
I
Like,
thought about all the folks in wheelchairs. That's all I was thinking.
You
Was like,
just looked at me
damn,
and were
sorry, wheelchair folks. You're
no,
fucked.
dude,
You
you
don't
got
get
hate
to,
in your eye.
You don't
looked at
get
me,
to be a man.
You looked at me and were like, motherfucker, you're not climbing any mountain.
Hey, I'm right there with you at the bottom, bro. I'm right there with you.
But and then get into a yurt and have like a leader, like a real like Bob Ross type or like Mr. Rogers type, but like with long hair, smells of patchouli, like those soft, comfortable baggy pants. You know what I'm
Everybody's
talking about?
ass looks good in them.
And like, and you sit down on a nice carpet. There's incense, and then you just trip balls for 3 days.
That's a rough initiation. Hey, it might be your first trip. 3 days.
Yeah,
You can have a choice.
72
between,
hours wall to wall.
Between, 3 days of ball tripping, or you can like stick your hand in one of those gloves filled with like fire ants. You know?
and scorpions. Nah, dude, no, because I don't want those people. Anyone willing to stick their hand in a glove full of fire ants, those are the people that need the drugs the most.
I don't want them opting out at all.
But think about it, even if you have a bad trip, you're coming out a better person. Like, you're wrestling with your fucking demons.
There definitely wouldn't be any incels.
Explain.
I can't. I don't have anything. I don't have anything for that.
Were you just expecting a laugh on that one?
Yeah.
How a mandatory government shaman ceremony for your 18th birthday will combat incels, right?
Yeah.
Incels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You got me
like
fucked up. I want to say Volcel.
You should get like a ceremonial like
I had to
triangle
look up
tattoo
Volcel. I didn't know
or
what
something
Volcel
like
was.
right underneath like the corner of your eye, just to show like I did my
Yeah, I
rite of
did that.
passage.
I did that.
Yeah, I was confused about the Volcel thing.
Volcel just voluntary.
Right.
Like they were saying,
voluntary
like
to
me.
not have sex.
Yeah.
They were saying like when like me, with all the shit on my walls, like it's not involuntary at this
Right.
point.
Right.
Well,
But then I also
I mean that's a joke,
Because
but
I
there
always think- I
there's
always
a
think-
big online community. Like Reddit has a lot of volcels, like who purposefully think like that fucking dude from Weezer. Remember when he went dry for like a couple years?
River Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I
River Cuomo.
initially thought incel was
you.
an intention not to have sex.
Just to
no,
make
they
sure
wanna
that
be.
record's totally clear.
Because hasn't
River Phoenix hasn't had sex in a long time. Either.
Yeah, they've both been celibate for a while.
because they've embraced the not having sex. They've embraced it to the point where it's almost Volcel, isn't it?
You got to hold on to those juices. They make you strong.
They've
Oh, dude, you gotta
embraced
get the poison
embraced
out.
the lifestyle so much that I think that they still want to
Powered
bang.
by rage.
It's a little bit like Hobanish, like where like, and he's good now. He's good now, but it's like where he thought that he was way. They're pissed that they can't bang Stacy's, right? Like these beautiful women, and they feel like they're owed that. And like any incel could go get laid if they just
Yeah.
stayed on the internet and found their counterpart,
Right.
someone that looked like them, and so. in a way, they're voluntary because they could potentially get laid. Some of them probably can't do normal human interaction very well.
Right.
But many of them probably could get laid, but they think that they deserve fucking... I don't know. Who's hot now? Who's a hot woman? I've been married to
Ivanka Trump.
Ariana Grande.
Ivanka Trump's way hotter than Ariana Grande.
Whoa.
Yeah, Mesa's good.
Hot take.
Hot take.
Not a popular opinion, but something.
You and the Prez have the same taste in women.
Something about her. She's hot. Dude. I don't know. She's evil. But like, no, she's her face is fucking.
Yeah, she's
incredible.
like that. She filled that Sarah Palin vacuum, dude.
Not even
You
close.
think Sarah Palin's good looking?
You know, I used to love Sarah Palin. Like, well, we're talking back like 8 years ago.
Is this like hate fuck?
Well, yeah, like you don't remember? Everybody was. I was like, she was on the cover of Runner's World and shit. Like I was like, okay, you kind of bang.
Jeff just wanted to come over and make him some fish sticks and applesauce.
Right? Just
Make
eat
sure he
normal
did his
food for once.
homework.
Your Oedipus is showing.
Yeah, it's all good, dude.
Well, so the incel / volcel thing is like, it's ego, right? Like so much of it is like overinflated sense of self. And
Is
ego.
it, or is it? Is that just a reaction to understanding your place in the like hierarchy? Like, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
That like people go, oh, I should be. They like sound entitled, but I don't really necessarily.
It
think
sounds
they,
ego.
Well, they can't reconcile it. Like if they can't reconcile their ego to their place in the pecking order.
Yeah, yeah.
But, and then just to go back to what we were talking about a couple minutes ago when we were talking about psychedelics, and then the overarching or undercurrent of this whole podcast is like socialism, stuff like that, which socialism and psychedelics both tend to like be towards the destruction of the ego, right? It's not about self.
No, it's ego death.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's
So,
what
yeah.
psychedelics really help with is
Yeah.
the destruction of the ego.
Yeah, I think the incel thing is definitely ego.
So what we're saying is dose the incels.
Yeah, dose the incels.
Oh, dose them all. That's what I'm
So
saying.
okay, so
When I
said
hate someone
that,
when you're like, your atoms and my atoms from the same fucking star where you're equals and we love each other.
Each one of those atoms is its own
So when I
separate
said a few
universe,
minutes ago
man.
that we should, if everybody had that rite of passage, we wouldn't have any incels. I had to just take you guys through.
Yeah,
and
you
bring
just walked us around. It's
I
all
can just
good.
take you and bring you around.
But to be fair, I don't think you had it. I don't think you had it.
You found it along the way with us.
But this is
a
the
journey.
point of this podcast, man. We're
a journey,
exploring. We're exploring together.
I do the ego thing though. It's okay. So have you guys? I got on Twitter to basically just. I've never tweeted anything. I don't have any friends on Twitter, but I had to get on Twitter to go see what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
So like I was able to find
Same boat here.
Okay, so I was able to find all
like
the
I was
people that
missing the
got like, hung out to dry on fake Louis CK Twitter last night. That was
yeah.
fun. But if you go, there's incel Twitter. And you can go look at the incel Twitter bios, which are like almost every single one of them starts with like, I'm a nice guy. I like to hang out. But a lot of
tell
the
you, they're
arguments
nice
they
guys.
get into are very like, this bitch doesn't want to do this. It's an entitlement thing. It does sound like an entitlement thing.
Well,
which
I
just
think what
translates to
happens
an
is
ego
it's a socially inept, like awkward person who meet other people of the same condition online, and they're like, I'm so pathetic, I can't get laid. And everyone's like, I'm so pathetic too. And it's like, you're not pathetic, man. You're great. It's these women that are bad. And it
Yes,
just
it does.
escalates from there.
It does, yeah.
Well, and if you think if you're like the people you hang out with and the people you want that you fill out your community or whatever the fuck you want to call that is, like people trying to look cool in front of the other people, and that's where like a lot of that ego shit comes from too, right? Like, yeah that fucking Stacy bitch, da 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 da. Instead of being like vulnerable and that thing that all of these like psychedelics will bring you to is that vulnerable state where you're like, I really wish Stacy liked me, but she thinks I'm a fucking turd.
So for those
You
that
know.
don't watch Law and Order, a Stacy is a good-looking chick that won't have sex with an incel.
Is that from Law and Order?
And no, but they talk about it.
Oh, okay.
I was like,
you got me. I was
And
like,
a Chad is like the male version.
Right.
Is
A Chad
like
is the
good-looking dude that's
the
like-
jock on the football team who's
that's-
getting
that's
all
getting
And
the
a chud is a neoliberal.
yeah.
Just to get all terms
Just
correct.
keep the chuds up.
It is Stacy though. 'Cause
It
I
is.
wasn't 100
Yeah, Chad and Stacy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But it does the rite of passage thing again. That's something that we've been doing in human evolution forever in societies and all
Just
sorts
not
of different.
ours.
Yeah,
I mean,
not
we
ours.
got the
But
driver's license at 16.
we know who these
Rumspringa.
incels are now. because they're on Twitter.
Yeah.
They're in,
So what we're calling for is everyone to have Rumspringa.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So
inward.
they got it right.
But basically,
But they do
this
it
is
inward.
just the guys like that not having sex and meeting girls and associating themselves like a normal part of fitting into society is just evolution. They're just weeding that DNA out of the circle. That's all that is, right?
Well, and I think the internet must have something to play with.
I
it,
mean,
right?
let's call that more of a social Darwinism than evolution, right?
Sure.
Just to keep it
Yeah,
scientific.
yeah.
I'm
I'm not saying
currently-
it's there's a right or wrong to it, but I mean, if they're not,
You can't call it DNA because you can't.
No,
all
no,
these
no.
dudes aren't like ugly or something like that. This is purely a psychological issue.
But
Absolutely,
isn't it
yeah.
like helped out by technology, like the absence of places to go and have anonymity to create
that
a
we
new
know where
person.
they are. And we know
Yeah,
who
like
they
in the
are.
50s, you couldn't pretend to be somebody else while you were sitting at home smoking cigarettes in your room.
Well, and also in the 50s, you would just go to a bar and grab a woman by her arm and drag her home. Back
Isn't
to,
every
you know you want it.
every person under the age of 30 in Japan an incel?
they have, I
their
think, yeah,
vol cell is different.
They
Real
have-
shit. Like if you were gonna break it down, that's the problem you're having with the younger, like
they have a
18 to
major,
35
they have a major
male.
population issue.
Yeah.
like there's more people in adult diapers than child diapers in Japan.
and men don't seem to be interested
That's a fact.
in relationships and sex.
That might be a fact, but they into that shit in Japan too. Like you don't need a diaper.
Yeah, in
It
Japan,
is a weird thing, though.
Well, they have censor genitals, so you can go buy porn, but they censor. They
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
digitally
That's the
censor
thing.
I
genitals.
grew up on that
Rise of
shit.
hentai. I
It
don't
got to the point
I don't
where
think it's
someone's
genitals.
face.
I think it might be pubic
It's
hair.
pubic hair, and I thought it was just pubic hair, but I think it's pubic hair and,
And
genitals.
genitals? Okay.
And that's what gives the rise to shit like hentai.
Oddly enough, you never see the pubic hair without the genitals.
Yeah, it's odd.
But you can buy like underwear in like a vending machine.
Yeah.
You
I'm
can
gonna
do
try.
a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
try
shit
my
in
joke
vending
again.
machines,
I'm gonna try
so.
my joke. Yeah, man. I got raised in that Japanese porn shit. It got to the point where I come every time I watch Cops and someone didn't sign the release form. Because the pics. All right, we'll cut that part out.
That was good.
it
That
was-
was good.
it
That was
was-
good when I caught it. When I caught on, it's a good joke.
Let's take a break.
I need to work that one on Red Bull.
Woo! Before we get into the second half, let's put a pin in that, and let's, if you guys are down, maybe go around the circle again, just a little refresher, and everyone say who you are. You don't have to do a biography or anything, just your name, so they recognize your voice. And then if I think it might be interesting, it might spur some good conversation if we kind of give a little bit of political background,
Okay.
and everyone can ask follow-up questions, but we're going to try to do this civilly.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's mostly for me.
And me.
Okay.
But you can ask follow-up questions, and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can
okay.
explore different questions real fast. Who wants to start?
And so we're just doing an introduction and
Well, do you want to just run?
I'll start
Just
so you
in-
guys kind of get a
Yeah.
glimpse of what I'm trying to say here.
The vibe's nice. The vibe's nice tonight.
So my name's Alex, and I'm a reformed liberal. Been pretty liberal for most of my life. But now, if I had to narrow it down, I'm of course a student and ever evolving, so it is difficult for me to really pin it down. But if I had to, it would be a libertarian socialist. And I know that that's not a very common phrase that people hear. So if you give me a quick second to explain what that
elaborate.
means. Wow, I didn't prepare anything. But a libertarian socialist is I there's a lot of crossover with anarchism. I am hesitant for hierarchy. I don't believe in state power. I mean, obviously there is a state power. I don't believe there should be a state power. Basically, here's an easy way to sum it up. Basically, a socialist who doesn't think the state should seize the means of production. I think that workers should organize and own the means of production, and then they can vote on their own representatives who then get together and decide the law. And the law should always be tested. The law should only be we should only have as many laws that are completely necessary and that are self-evident in the way that they can be tested. And I'm just kind of spitballing here now.
Yeah.
That makes
through
sense.
through
Is this the libertarian part of libertarian socialists where you start arguing against like age of consent laws?
no.
Or selling people into slavery. No, see,
Why do we need
It's
hate
been so
crimes?
tainted. I mean, the term's been so tainted. I mean,
and it's ours first.
well, libertarians around the world, everywhere other than this country, are not taken serious. Like, you go talk to
Yeah,
people
they're
in
not
like
really taken
Europe
serious in
about a
this
libertarian. It's like, yeah, no one takes them fucking serious because they know that if you just deregulated everything and you let corporations run the world, you could see where that would go.
Right, and it was ours first. The word comes from French, and it was part of an
Liberté.
anarchist movement.
Yeah, well, it's like we have a glaring example with the overflowing shitters in Joshua Tree. What happens when you just let people do whatever the fuck they want to do?
But at the same time, for those listening, maybe in the future or something, there is a government. We're in the middle of a government shutdown, and I did just go to Joshua Tree, and it did shut down as of today. The camping,
They closed it.
just the camping.
Yeah.
But up until today, people have organized, and the townspeople of Joshua Tree have been going in and collecting litter and like doing
They
everything
need-
that needs
they
to get
need
done.
People to come and buy their shit because they live there.
I'm sure that's part of it, but it's also pretty awesome that they're doing it.
Yeah.
And when we drove into the park recently, and we drove past that ranger station, and it was all closed out, boarded up, and stuff, and I was like, it made my anarchist heart skip a little beat. Like, yeah, fuck yeah, we don't need that shit. We don't need that shit.
I mean, I guess the question is sometimes because people try to like imagine what we're talking about and how you would actually achieve something like that. Is this through the means of like a democratic system? Like as far as like voting?
Well, that's interesting, and I've been thinking a lot about electoralism lately, and I don't know how much I support electoralism, and that's something that I'm currently researching and getting into.
Like in a perfect world, if it was actually legit. And,
Well, see, the problem with democracy is that by its own nature, there is a hierarchy implicit within it.
right. There's Jefferson's democracy and there's
So I don't want to.
democracy.
And all these terms are so hard, because like you could say I'm a socialist, and that means so many things to so many people. And to really educated and smart people,
Right.
socialism, communism mean so many things.
Right.
So it's hard to say I'm completely against democracy. I'm completely against democracy as it stands now.
Well, it's been so bastardized at this point with gerrymandering and
I'm in for like a direct representation.
okay, that's what I mean.
I think that the worker should be the driver of that representation.
Right.
So in my ideal world is that every company would be employee owned.
Right.
Those employees elect their boss, and those employees elect a representative. So there'd be small municipalities throughout the land.
Right.
Or states, even maybe throughout the states. And then they can vote on someone.
Right.
And so forth, as high as we need to go to have like a federal system of sorts.
There's a lot of companies that do this.
But it shouldn't be. Yeah, there's a
There's
lot
more
of
companies than people know that do this.
And there's representative democracies throughout Europe too. Italy, like there's places where you get 2% of the vote, you get 2% of the power. They generally grind to a halt. But that's with regular, not saying yours would, but I'm saying that's like regular capitalist ideas. Is that like when we do that, when we sliver the pie up tinies, then nothing gets done because everybody has competing desires. We'll just kind of segue out. I'm Jeff. I don't really believe in anything. I think we should kind of burn it down these days. Which is kind of a fun place to be. I'm kind of a former, like, I don't know, purist Democrat, I guess. I don't know. Like, I kind of believed in the system, and
Dixiecrat.
I don't want to say Dixiecrat. But I mean, I was definitely like a little xenophobic kid growing up in an army fucking family, and I believed a lot of the stuff I was told. I think these days it's more of the Dunbar number kind of thing, where I think that people shouldn't necessarily be in groups more than a couple hundred.
It's an argument for socialism.
Yeah. And I think that that most of the time I hear like whatever, I don't know, even the things I used to say, like they're kind of like ways to keep trying to kick the ball down the road. They're not ways to actually fix society, and I don't know that society can be fixed, because every time I think about people, they're just shit stains. Like everybody's fucking disgusting. Like just as many times as I hear about like the Joshua T people keeping the camps open as long as they can, like their shitters were fucking overflowing because people were like, oh whatever, it's not me, it's okay, I
People
can poop
putting
here.
Christmas lights on Joshua trees and stuff, protecting Joshua trees.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it's just I think people are fucking horrible, and I think the best way to keep them in line is to keep them in small numbers and let them do what they want. But I don't know.
Keep them in line.
Yeah, and that'll be another running theme. I have like a retributive justice like urge in me that's huge. Like I don't do things that I think are like, against what society would like, so I don't really necessarily see the problems.
Would
for
you
heavy
would you say that
penalties for
maybe
those things.
one day a large flood is going to come?
No, I find it hard. Like when you hear like those barbaric
wash
things,
away the
filth.
the sinners.
Dude,
and the filth.
I feel that so hard though, because again, this is Alex again. As someone who doesn't like hierarchy, I also struggle internally with like tanky desires. Like when I see someone like litter, I'm like, that's why it's going to be so fucking hard to be socialist. To the fucking dungeon with you.
To the
but then I
gulag.
have to be like, whoa.
I don't want to live in that place. Yeah, like I go like, if you steal something and you get your hand cut off for it, I don't really feel bad for you because I don't steal shit. So it makes me feel like, okay, but then I guess you shouldn't have to live under the fear of getting your hand cut off,
Right.
But I wouldn't live under said fear, so I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Basically, I waver. I'm a fence sitter, and from time to time, I'll be like, no, we should keep it the way it is. And then other times I'm really, really just ready to burn it all.
I
fucking
think if
down.
you're conscious right now and you're like kind of awake and kind of paying attention politically and socially, culturally,
Yeah,
to
we're
what's
all going through our little metamorphosis right
I think
now.
everybody who's paying any attention is little anxiety, little depression.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty apparent that this capitalist democracy that we've been living in, they've been pulling a fast one on everyone for a while now.
Right.
And maybe the most recent government, maybe that's a bridge too far, and people are kind of going, wait.
Yeah, it's
the
kind of
fuck?
outed itself. It's kind of jumped
And then
short.
and you start looking back.
Yeah,
you start looking back, and you're like, wait a minute. Wait, this was always like this? This is just like a little more blatant and obvious?
No, I think that you sensed it all the way back. You're always like, oh, it's going to get better. We always had hope. Like the next guy, Obama's saying all these things. And I'm like, oh, those are registering with me. Yeah, that is unfair. Oh, yeah, that does sound like it could be better. And then the next guy comes in and it doesn't. And so there is like this unease that's been with you since you've become politically conscious, at least with me. And then all of a sudden, like this fucking travesty that just happened really opened my eyes, and it's like, oh yeah, there's no fix here. Like this
is very systematic. I mean,
this is system, and they're getting better at it.
Yeah.
Well, in like you're taught democracy is supposed to be about compromise, so you're not going to get what you want. So for most of your life, you roll through looking all this shit, going like, oh, okay, I'll make an excuse for that because we're all not supposed to get what we want. It's supposed to be about getting better through progressive, like slowly over time we'll make the correct change for humankind, and it may not be the fastest, but it will be the truest.
Yeah,
and that's just not.
And they figured out, they being the powers that be, how to stall that, but still dangle it in front of us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I don't. It's hard to think that there's actually somebody, behind the curtain wiggling their thumbs. But it is. You can see how it is this. This system becomes like this own self-feeding superorganism.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There were people behind the scenes.
At some point.
And then they're dead now.
Right.
And the system continues.
Right, because who's going to change it at this point?
And there's no one at the wheel.
Yeah.
Go, introduce
Skynet
yourself.
is alive, dude.
Yeah, for
Okay,
real.
yeah. I'm Mason.
No
I
fate
am,
but what we make.
Like most people, I've always been fairly politically conscious. I mean, I remember the Bush days. I remember going crazy
The
on
70s.
Oh.
No. You meant different Bush
No,
days.
our Bush. George W. So that was fun.
I ain't got no
and
Bush.
then I think when Obama got elected, I kind of did what everybody else did, and I think I just kind of went to sleep for like 8 years. I mean, I paid attention here and there. probably watched, a little too much sports. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I kind of just went into the Obama coma. So I think since Trump and, my own, personal changes in my life, I think that I've become, I've read more history. I've read more philosophy. I've read more political science in the last 2 years than I ever have cared to know in my whole life.
And it ain't easy.
No, it takes work. It takes
And
fucking effort, man.
To learn leftist history and to learn leftist theory,
Right.
that shit ain't easy. And that's a big reason why I wanted to do this podcast.
Yeah.
Is because I want to talk about this for people who maybe
It's not exactly presented to people on a silver tray.
No.
No, I mean, yeah, when I hear like Noam Chomsky, right? Most blacklisted intellectual, one of possibly our greatest intellectual ever, talk about things like the free market. And he talks about how the design of the free market, the Adam Smith free market, was something that was designed to act rationally amongst people and their purchases. It was supposed to act rationally because rational people were going to make rational decisions based upon things that they bought. And you can tell now that the free market there's nothing rational about it. I mean, people are, this economy is totally manufactured and curated. There's,
I don't know a single ill of society that can't be traced back to capitalism.
Yeah, and I think and it is depressing. I think I'd probably tend to err on the side of depression more than I would anxiety, because I think if you're just paying attention, I don't know how you can actually watch the news and not have an opinion. But it is hard to have an opinion without doing the work to know, where that initially started historically and culturally.
I'm not sure I know the difference between depression and anxiety at this point. It's just this feeling of dread. And it's which column to tick? I don't know. It's,
yeah.
It's spilled over. It's everywhere.
Yeah. So sorry.
Talking about capitalism versus socialism and perceptions in people's minds and stuff, and because we have grown up in this like capitalist society, and there's absolutely a resistance to people the people we know, people that are, I'm like, your life, you're ground down, man. Like, you're poor.
Yeah.
Like, why are you so resistant to changing this system? Like, why are you so still holding on to this capitalism?
Right. Because communism's bad.
Yeah. And it's like, I think everyone thinks in their mind, they're like, okay, well, socialism's like a leveler, right? Like, everyone should be kind of like brought to like levels, and they look around at everyone they know, and they're like, well, I know a bunch of like fucking broke ass people. Mm-hmm. Like, my level's going to go down. Like, I'm already like fucking shitty. I'm a dirt person,
right?
And my level's going to drop a little bit lower. I'm like, maybe one of the things that we can really do as a selling point for capitalism is just do these like huge exposés on how truly, truly wealthy and rich, like these really rich people are. I'm like, I don't think the average person understands just how much wealth has accumulated with this small group.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it'll be a leveler.
A selling point for socialism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like, if we just leveled everything out, no, you rise with that tide. Like, the resources have been accumulated so high in such a small percentage, but I just don't think regular people fully understand it. They can't grasp
it's
it.
that.
They can't
It's
grasp it.
$285,000 per human being. So we're thinking old ladies, super like infants. It's generally per capita, like a household is like.
You're talking if you took the country's money or the world's money?
No, just this country's money.
If you took all the money in the country
and you divided it by the people
by
in which
people
live
here.
in the borders of this
everybody
country.
would be giving
every single person would get
$285,000
$285,000 a year with a like general family is more like $7.
Yeah, and if you contrast up that to like what people are saying now about how the average American can't afford like an unseen $500 medical bill.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely think it's that. Like, our inability to fathom
in the same way
of that vastness.
In the same way that the average person can't grasp the infinity of space.
Yeah.
Right. There was that no, I shouldn't get into, but Obama was asked for why he picked a number. Do you remember this?
No.
And he says because it just sounded like a big number.
What, 250,000 number?
No, it was a trillion. I shouldn't get into it unless I remember the specific circumstance.
But yeah, like the same way, like it's to think that the sun is 93 million miles away from the Earth.
Yeah.
Like,
You
what does
can't
that mean to me?
quantify it.
What does 93 million miles mean? Like, you can't even think. Like, you
Yeah,
can't
that's
grasp
back,
it.
You can't
back
grasp
to
the number
Dunbar's
that-
Like, you
number.
cannot
The human,
grasp
yeah, the human
how
mind.
wealthy some of these people are.
Right.
But I think beyond the not be able to comprehend that, there's also a psychological effect, and it's this deep humiliation of being poor.
Yeah.
And it's because we blame people for being poor.
Everyone
as a
listening to this
society.
podcast, you're relatively poor compared to how. I mean, you're absolutely poor compared to how wealthy these people are.
Yeah,
You're
and
an
everyone's
ant.
sitting at home
You
being
are
like,
an ant.
capitalism's been pretty good to me. You know,
Yeah.
I have a iWatch. Is that what it's called? Apple Watch.
Okay,
I
so
have
and that's I don't think you can really talk about this what we're talking about now, capitalism, without talking about the overarching grotesque consumerism that we have specifically in this country.
Oh, that's definitely tied in.
That's absolutely tied in. The fact that we, can buy cheap goods from other countries, and you have to have the next iPhone that
that's
comes
eating
out.
your feelings, man. It's eating your feelings.
What that and the
Yeah.
status, like that deep humiliation of being poor. There's no reason that anyone needs an Apple Watch. There's no reason.
Well, I mean,
it doesn't exist.
You
Is-
can get notifications when you're away from your phone, though, bro.
There's
Come
always a
on.
reason, right? But
There's
but
no reason for anyone. Like my wife. God, she's gonna listen to this.
Take my wife.
My
please.
wife bought a Mac.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a little thing about it because I was like,
You're
you're not
wasting
recording
money.
music. You're not making art.
Right.
Like you browse the internet and send emails.
Yeah.
It's a status symbol.
It's a brand.
And that status says I can afford this because it's humiliating to be poor. So I need you to think that I'm rich.
It's the brand is just such a big. I'm at a loss of words, but yeah.
Well, and I
Branding,
always
the
think you
consumerism.
talk about the like the shame of the humiliation of being poor, but I think it's also the theory of whiteness for a lot of people that like that the reason why, especially I'm speaking specifically about white people, like why they cling to the socialized belief in capitalism is because they were sold the theory that they were gonna. I mean, and I'll be real, I bought into that shit when I was 12. I never thought I was gonna be poor. I thought, like, my parents have a nice house and a good job. They were, my dad was lying about shit. But, like, like, the thing is like, oh, yeah, like, you grow up in a socioeconomic place, and you're sold that theory of whiteness that, like, even if you don't buy into the racist side, if you don't buy into the thinking you're better than somebody else, on a socialized level, you believe that socioeconomically, I'm going to be better off because I came from this. I went to a good school. I went to college, so that means I should get a job that has 6 figures on it, or whatever the fuck that means. People buy into that, and that helps them subscribe to that, to the idea of capitalism. It helps them go.
Yeah, they buy into it because for the most part it's true.
And right. And you don't want to lose what you have, even now.
Until you hit our generation, and then most of us won't do as well as their parents.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's
for
just
sure.
these things go on for so long, and they've gone on in the past for so long that we don't really question them, right?
Yeah.
So
When do
that was Nietzsche's thing. His thing was what we used to do for the love of God, now we do for the love of money.
For the love
Right.
of money.
And we need to get into the dissolving of institution, and how that is our generation. That is postmodernism. That is our generation's.
Well, I guess I'll jump in here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
as
do
the
your
last
intro.
person to introduce myself, I'm Zach. I don't know. I'm figuring it out. I've never been like politically active. I've always been relatively left leaning. Growing up like in the 80s and the 90s and kind of balking at the status quo.
That's my brother. This is Alex, and I'm going to
uh,
call you out a little bit because you dabbled shortly
Yeah.
in a little rand.
Every angstful 15-year-old
But
does.
he also was more politically active than anything. He went to protests and shit, motherfucker.
Yeah,
He was-
no,
Free
was all
Mumia.
there, free Mumia and
The,
UFC and shit.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this at a later point, but I can talk about some of the aspects of like Randian philosophy that is idealized and is attractive. Like there's nothing wrong with striving for a certain level of excellence, and then she's all about that's her porn,
Yeah, objectivism. Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know. Same with the rest of these guys. It's obvious that things are not working the way they are. And I don't purport to have the answers, and I'm not like I'm not an angel, but I do believe that
well, people
we
are
can
looking.
do better. Yeah, we can do better by other people, and we can do better by ourselves.
I think people are listening to us for the answers.
Yeah.
Right. That's
They are
we're doing this.
out of luck.
We're doing this for you.
Maybe I should make a list of things that I consider myself an expert in, and that is making long commutes into Los Angeles,
European soccer.
specifically London soccer, Tottenham Hotspur, and LA Galaxy. Being mediocre at a lot of things. Yeah, so I'm an expert in mediocrity. I guess that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah.
Hot take.
You guys want to take a break?
Well, are you done, Zach?
Yeah. Unless you guys have questions about
I didn't mean to
mediocrity.
be.
Anyone have any questions about how the English Premier League season is progressing so far this year?
I'm good.
As a mediocre male.
Yeah. Mediocre.
Mediocre cisgendered.
Read my column in GQ.
As a mediocre male, what's your take on feminism these days?
The mediocre cisgendered expert.
The Second Amendment is about protecting your right to kill human beings. Anyone who mentions hunting or sports shooting has an agenda and is lying to you. Most developed countries do not have a government-authorized proclamation of its citizens' birthright to arm themselves, yet their law-abiding citizens can obtain firearms for hunting and target shooting. Yet according to Pew Research, the vast majority of American gun owners have them for reasons of self-protection. That means murder. In America, if you own a gun, you are almost certainly, by an overwhelming margin, a white male Trump supporter. Simply put, the people that have the most guns are the people that shouldn't have them. As an American gun owner, this upsets me. The American gun culture has got to extinguish the toxic masculinity and the fetish of aggression that rots it to its core. However, there is no tool like a gun to instantly destroy a hierarchy of power and level the inequity between the oppressed and their oppressor. In an effort to quash the vicious masculinity of gun culture, and at the same time to promote a flattening of the hierarchies of power, I present the Guns Are Gay campaign. Guns are gay. Take your gay comrades shooting. Teach them responsible gun ownership. If you can afford it, buy them a gun. Help demystify firearms for all marginalized people, gays, women, trans, and queer people. This is Alex from the LaCroix Underground saying, you can have my guns when you pry them from my gay comrades' cold, dead hands.
Well, can I just say for the record, the cuck the police,
Yeah.
I made that photo.
Yeah.
And the micro penis, that was me. I do
Oh, yeah.
post some I find online.
Y'all heard it first. That micro penis.
Yeah,
that
no,
was
I'm
him.
I'm the traditional meme, like nihilist type format. Alex has more of like Alex is Photoshop wizard.
We need to get little LaCroix Underground like symbol watermark that I could put onto the.
yeah.
John Burkhart. We need an LCU watermark.
Let's just call calling people out. Mom, how you doing, baby?
You've talked to your mom directly like 3 times in this podcast.
Pay attention to me. It makes her feel special, guys. I took my 64-year-old mother and my 62-year-old Aunt Kathleen to go shoot handguns for the first time.
Woo!
Yeah.
Did they have a good time?
They had a blast. My mom is a hell of a shot, like scary hell of a shot.
Nice.
Look out, Tim. And then my Aunt Kathleen, we started with a 22 handgun, and then we
Small target.
We moved on to a 9mm Glock 17.
She all about that Glock.
And it was her request. She's like, I want to shoot a Glock. And at the end, like she wanted to shoot a gangster style, like sideways. And at the end, like I was like, you can't do that here. You can't. It's an indoor range. You can't do that. And then she's like, can I do one? I was like, yeah. And she just walked up and like shot it sideways. But
Damn, she
story
got
short,
all fucking Michael Douglas with that shit.
it was fucking hilarious. My mom killer shot. My Aunt Kathleen, first one, she got 10 22 bullets in a little pistol. The giant target of the mugger, 10 yards away. not very far.
Ooh.
She empties the clip, doesn't hit the target once.
Wow.
Crap.
All right.
That's
Then
terrifying.
we go through.
Do you
and
get to
she does
choose
okay, she
your,
does okay.
do you get to choose your targets?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can buy them.
I'll take you shooting,
Have
dude.
some
It's
race-
so
they have
fun.
some
so
racist
We
ass
should
shit.
go LCU.
I'm the only person in here that's never shot a gun.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to go, dude.
I've
It's
never
fun.
been. Yeah.
Well,
We
I'll
should
take
do
you anytime.
LCU at the range, fool.
Dude, they got some race. They got like Mexican dude with like a white chick, and he's got like a knife to like her throat, shit like that.
That's
dude.
what I'm curious about.
They got terrorists.
Yeah.
And then
They've
so
still got
we move up to the
Osama.
Glock 17, 9mm. And again, my mom, a little worse because it's a bigger gun, bigger jerk, but she still like delivers at least 5 to center mass. Like, dang, mama. And then Kathleen gets up there. Now the Glock I believe holds 10, and drained it, missed the entire target.
Holy crap! How's that even possible?
10 yards.
Like,
dude.
I don't even want to laugh because I don't know how bad I'd be. I'm not bad with a Nerf gun.
It's not bad. Like it, especially like anything like the 2 guns he's talking about. They don't have like, especially the 22. There's not enough on that 22 that's gonna ever make you like. The Glock, I can understand if you weren't used to it, you could have some like recoil problems. It's a little heavier, but like if
Yeah,
you
I
have
mean-
2 hands on that thing, you should be able to hit the broadside of a barn. You know
I
what
have
I mean?
pretty liberal,
You'll be fine.
sympathies towards guns. So like, yeah,
Until you
guns are
shoot
not
'em.
something I'm
Till you
comfortable
shoot 'em,
with.
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we
you know
can
what?
like
To-
launch
I'm
off a
just
couple
being
rounds,
To
honest.
tell
man.
more about that story, my Aunt Kathleen brought her daughter, and who's pushing 30 probably, and very liberal, like school teacher, very normie.
Now she wants to pack in the classroom.
Had so much fun shooting a gun, and she actually said to me on the way out the door, she's like, "I kind of get it now."
Yeah. It changes your mind about it
So
when you
is
fucking shoot some
power?
shit. Yeah, fucking A.
That's it, right?
No effect. Like, we had that whole cuck the police thing that was funny. But, like, man, when you hold the gun and you know you could just fucking murder the person next to you and it's like, hey, that's
And
fine.
you're, yeah.
And when you shoot it and it splits something, blows it up, you feel,
This says a little more about our friend Jeffrey than it says about your
Just took a
average
turn.
hey, no worries, guys. I just say it.
It's
it is.
fun because there's
It's-
an explosion in your hand, and there's a level of like sportsmanship, like trying to hit the target, and when you're going with other people,
Then why
trying
do
to
you need
shoot
a high
better.
caliber?
Because it's a bigger explosion. It's more fun.
Because there's power
But
in your
my
hand that can
brain-
kill somebody.
Okay.
Has never gone to like, I hold 9 men's lives in this hand. Like, I don't look at everyone else at the range like, y'all very lucky.
When I go this powerful explosion in my hand, I think about the power that could kill me or the other person, somebody
Yeah, I
else
mean,
on the other
Well,
side.
no, fireworks are fun and they don't kill. I mean, like, they could,
They're
but
not fun in the same way. I don't know if to me
Really?
they are.
Yeah, okay,
I
so
like
I've-
fireworks, but not as much as I like shooting a gun. And I don't just shoot a gun because I could take a man's soul. Like, I shoot a gun because it's fucking powerful. It's explosion in your hand. That explosion, if it pointed at something, will kill it. Animal, like me.
Well, I
whatever.
would hope that like so I've never shot a gun, but
Yeah.
I would hope that like what I take as power, I would hopefully quickly translate to like respect
And
Or,
responsibility.
like, responsibility, right.
Exactly.
Oh,
I never shot anybody.
You know, I'm a total dingus, like, in my day-to-day life. I am, like...
Legit about your
You have to
gun
be.
safety.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'm, like, the Tim Brown of, like, not the ball player, but, like, my stepfather of guns. Like, I am, like everything goes in its right place.
Yeah.
I run a patch through my gun every time before I shoot it and then clean it thoroughly every time I shoot it afterwards. I like have my proper stance, my 2 hands on the weapon, arms extended, straight. Like, it's...
And if you shoot at a range, you have to. Like, you'll get fucking bounced out if you don't.
Yeah,
right?
I
Like,
mean,
you
some of
can't
them are a little
fuck
So
more
like
strict than others,
anybody
but
can
yeah.
just go to a gun range
Oh, yeah.
and just get a gun, and like what would stop me from just like shooting the person next to me?
Everyone there has a gun.
Well, yeah.
So I mean, they would shoot me.
That
after
would
I
stop
shot-
you
shot
after
somebody.
you shot somebody.
Okay, I'm
else.
just wondering.
Yeah,
I'm just
different.
thinking it through.
Well, at the Insight, the one I went to, a lot of ranges have this rule. It's like the suicide buddy rule.
I was gonna ask, like, that's
Exactly.
are people offering themselves at gun ranges ever?
It just happened at
Okay.
Insight not too long ago. So Insight, it's if you rent one of their guns, you have to have someone with
Like
you.
a buddy with you.
But you can bring your own gun. And I think the reasoning behind that is if you have your own gun, you can kill yourself anywhere.
Right.
But if you're coming there to borrow a gun,
To off yourself.
Well, and there's also like that buddy thing. If you're coming there to borrow a gun, you don't have you kind of explicitly don't have as much experience usually with said gun, and like I think sometimes we think like the worst of like, oh, you're gonna shoot yourself, but it's more like I've watched videos on Reddit of like dudes at a range like trying to see if a chamber's clear by holding a fucking gun, like
Oh,
their
yeah, it's
hand up in
terrible.
front of the fucking barrel and shooting themselves in the fucking hand. And the dude next to you, that guy had a buddy spotting him, should have been like, "Hey, don't put your fucking hand in front of the gun, stupid."
So I get
But
the
nobody does
consensus
that.
is that whoever goes to a gun range will most likely enjoy it, however they interpret that enjoyment. But those people would then want to go out and buy their own gun.
They're more inclined. For sure.
Like who goes
the-
to a gun range to shoot guns but doesn't own a gun? Is that
Me for a long time.
Okay.
I didn't start owning guns until 2 or 3 years ago.
First off, they're expensive.
They're insanely.
Right.
I mean, you can get like a 22 pistol. Like we're talking just pistols. Like,
Yeah, give me some
You can get like a
prices. What's going
22
on?
for $250, but that's a real low end. Like for a good Beretta,
Yeah.
at least $1,000, a little bit more,
Yeah,
a grand and
I don't
change.
know, gun, they're expensive as shit.
Wow.
Like Glock, like low grade clock, like Glock 17,
8.
between 5 and 8.
Yeah.
wow?
So it's like-
so like people that are like buying a lot of guns that I would see that I would assume maybe don't make a lot of money. They're just spending almost every available dime on.
And it runs
You
like
can
like
credit, you can- there's, you
an
know,
AR-15. You can get one for $500. It's a piece of shit. And then there's some out there that are $5,000.
The thing about an AR-15 too is that not to speak out of pocket, I don't have a fucking AR-15, but like you could buy the $500 AR-15 and buy $1,000 worth of
Parts.
add-ons and
Or
parts
add-ons,
to
yeah.
change it to the $1,500 AR-15.
Yeah.
That's why that's America's gun. It's because it's like fucking
Modular.
Legos and shit. People love them.
Just threw everybody for a loop because coming off very left-leaning liberal, and then we got some gun
We're
talk
all like
going
guns,
on.
guns.
So that's
I love 'em.
the greatest thing about kind of being a democratic socialism type, leaning towards that is we get to make fun of liberals too.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the best things about this.
You know what I really want to do is take you to the gun range and record it on our phone.
That's what I'm saying. We should do LCU
Yeah, okay.
on assignment.
Yeah, I'll do
That's
it.
LCU.
LaCroix Underground, fool. What the fuck?
Oh, we thought it was
Is
like
that a
he
thing
thought it was
that
like
we're
some
doing?
software.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
know if
I
it's
thought
a
it was
thing.
like a little handheld recording device or something.
It doesn't have to be a thing we're doing. It's a thing I've been doing.
No, I'll
I
do it.
apologize.
Have you dropped it before?
5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I think about the same thing, right? Again, I thought it was like a handheld
You
recording.
were talking about the watermark. It was like a little LCU watermark.
Because I produce it, when I save it in the computer, I don't write it out full hand. I just write LCU because it makes it easier. But I'm not like trying to be like, what is that chick, Regina, whatever. I'm not trying to make LCU a thing.
Quit making LCU.
Quit trying to
happen.
make LCU a thing.
Well, we should do it.
We just went over it.
Yeah?
Alex's
Yeah,
head.
sure. We'll do it.
Going to do it this week?
Are we just leaving everybody on a cliffhanger because Mason's going to go to a gun range and that's going to be the next episode?
All right, one more. Let me tell you a quick story because
Okay.
I know we all got to go. First time I ever shot a handgun by Alex Benavides. I don't know if this is good for the cast, but
Who knows?
yeah, because I'm gonna name drop here.
Don't.
Little raw
Don't,
dog
in case it's-
slurricane.
Okay, well, fuck him.
So we live together,
No one knows. No one knows who that is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know
Yeah,
if it's good for the cast,
Raw
but
dick-a-dick.
he's basically an albino. Picture an albino gorilla,
Now people know who it is.
and
By the way, Riff Raff's has a new pendant called the Vanilla Gorilla pendant, where they made like a albino gorilla.
so his name is Jimmy, and he had never shot a gun either. Nothing illegal is happening. It doesn't.
Why did you have to say that?
You're at a gun range?
What?
You're at a gun range or no?
Oh, we're at home
Oh, okay.
at the 20th Street mansion, and we're like, let's go shoot guns, bro. And he's like, yeah, let's go shoot. Oh, yeah, let's go shoot guns. So we get into his car, and we're driving to the gun range. And neither him nor I have ever been to a gun range. Never fired a handgun. I've shot a few rifles, and we pull up.
That's ballsy. Real shit. That's not like usual. You guys, I wouldn't have been like, yeah, sure, I'll do this without no one fucks up. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you know,
It's because you're a Marcus, dude.
no, it's,
Yeah, totally. The guy who's never shot a gun.
yeah, he's
Shut
like.
the fuck up.
He's smart. Like we were being total dinguses, and we pull into the parking lot of Insight out in Artesia, and I look at Jimmy and I was like, we like don't know anything. So I was like, do you need a license to shoot? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, oh shit. All right, dude. We just got to go in there like bosses. Like we got to go in there, act like, oh, it's our first time at this gun range.
Didn't I see you guys here last
But we come to gun ranges all the time. And he's like, all right. I was like, Jimmy, just let me do the talking.
Yeah, that's a big.
And then we walk in, and we're like, oh, look at these guns. It's just a big glass case full of handguns, and then there's rifles all lining the back. And we walk in, and we're like looking through, and the guy walks up, he's like, can I help you? And I was like, I think I want to shoot that 9mm Beretta. And he goes, driver's license, please. I was like, whew, my heart's like, is he going to like run my driver's license to see if I have gun safety or whatever? Like, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, here you go, brother. I put it on the counter. He takes my driver's license off the glass counter, sticks it into the case where the Beretta was, pulls out the Beretta, pits it on the counter, goes, how many rounds? I was like, $1, please. Grabs the box of rounds. He goes, you need eyes and ears?
Yes.
Like, yes, I do. And he gives me safety glasses and earplugs and gives a set for Jimmy. He's like, you guys want to do one range? We're like, yeah. And he's like, all right, you're number 13. Go ahead. All right. Oh, we had to pick out a target. I was like,
It's like the first time you bought drugs.
I was like, yeah. Right. I was like, okay. And then we walked in there, and like the gun is like all like taken apart, not like disassembled, but like cocked open, you know?
Oh shit.
And I don't know how to like make it go back. I don't know how to load the bullets into the magazine. So I have to like put the magazine into the gun empty to see which direction I should put the bullets into the magazine.
And not Brian Austin Green, your friend, that's standing right next to you.
He's like, why don't you try it, bud? And I was like, all right. And so, dude, my hands trembling, like shaking
I believe,
as I'm loading the bullets into the thing, pop it in, just like I've seen in movies, slide it back, let go, it doesn't slide forward. I'm like, oh, fuck, that's like... okay. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be so fucking humiliated if I have to, like, go ask that guy for help, you know? So it's like looking at the gun, and I see, like, a little button on the side, and I hit it, and it goes, slides forward. And I send the target out, because it's a little automatic one. Send it out, like, 15 yards or something. And I'm like shaking and trembling. And I line it up just like I've seen in movies. I've done zero research on anything.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm just doing it like I see in the movies. And I squeeze the trigger and it shoots in my hand. And I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. Then from that point forward, it's just like pop, pop, pop. Like no concern whatsoever anymore.
Wow.
And desert's fun too. Like the range, you got to go to the range just to get it out of your system and shit. But after that, like, we should get out a fucking desert trip where we go out and you go out into fucking just nature and shoot shit.
I don't think I've ever shot a BB gun.
Oh, man.
I shot a BB gun into Jeff.
Yeah.
You did.
It's still in my arm.
It's still
pretty
in his
fucking
arm.
cool.
That's your problem.
Yeah, probably the
It's
lead.
that fucking lead BB.
Jimmy? Are you here?
I heard you. Until next time.